Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Dear Old State Update brought to you by Penn State Sports Night. Although Penn State didn't make March Madness, titles have still been claimed and spring seasons are blooming. I'm Amanda Vogt alongside Owen Camaros here to give you the latest update on the Nittany Lions.
Our beat reporters have been working around the clock to bring you all the shots, hits, and highlights from Penn State Sports. We'll bring you a recap of Penn State Wrestling's 13th National Championship, a preview of Penn State Hockey's upcoming NCAA tournament matchup versus Maine, and more right here on the Dear Old State Update.
Once again, Penn State Wrestling made history at the NCAA Championship. Our very own Nico Rodriguez traveled to the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia to report on all the action. He's joined now with Adriana Gallucci with more on the Nittany Lions' latest title.
Thanks, Amanda and Owen. Penn State Wrestling concluded its season with the NCAA Championships in Philadelphia, and our own Nico Rodriguez was there. Nico, tell us all about your experience.
Yeah, it was a really cool, unique experience. Luckily, I was all access, so I had the opportunity to be on the press box and down at the floor conducting interviews and even attending press conferences. On Wednesday, I had the opportunity to attend Carter's press conference, and then on Thursday, the wrestling started with the round of 32, followed by the round of 16 that night. And then Friday, you had the quarterfinals and the semifinals into the bronze round and the championship on Saturday. And then I think ESPN did a really great job with the production and the broadcast and the event as a whole. They had a lot of notable names at the event, attending the event, whether calling the event like Daniel Cormier. Bo Nickel was also there, and President Donald Trump was there. So I think all those big names really helped bring eyes to the sport. And it was really cool to see Penn State win their fourth straight title and break the all-time point record and have 10 All-Americans.
And its 13th national champion. And they had two individual champions within that, Carter Strachey, who we'll talk about in a bit, and Mitchell Messenbrink, as well as Josh Barr, runner-up in his own weight class. But Mitchell Messenbrink, he had a huge weekend. Talk about what you liked from him.
Yeah, he continued to dominate like he has all year. No surprise. He hasn't lost a match since last year, and he won an award for the most tech falls of the season, an NCAA award. He set himself up in a really great spot to win the Hodge Award, which is the award for the most dominant wrestler. And then he beat Michael Caliendo for the fifth time in his career. Caliendo was number 2 at 165. That's who he beat for the championship this past Saturday.
And Carter Strachey is now the only 5-time NCAA champion in collegiate wrestling history. You have to agree with me here, Nico, that he cemented himself as one of the best to ever come out of Penn State in terms of wrestling.
Yeah, I agree. He's the first time in NCAA history to win 5 national titles. He did it at 2 different weights, 174 and 184. And I think he's either the best Penn State wrestler of all time, maybe the best at 174, one of the two. Even Micah Parsons said he's the best Penn State athlete ever of all time. So that has to say something.
Getting a shout out from Micah Parsons is definitely huge. And I know you and I want to recap the season, but before we go on, some huge news broke earlier. Ono, who's one of the best Japanese wrestlers, announced his commitment to Penn State today on Flow Wrestling. He unzipped his sweatshirt and there was the big Penn State logo on it, but it's a huge pickup for Cale Sanderson and his squad. We talk a lot of time about dynasties in sports and how quickly with wrestlers coming in and out that dynasties can rise and fall. We've seen it with Oklahoma State and Iowa as well, but this Penn State wrestling dynasty, in my opinion, is not going anywhere, especially with a pickup like Ono. He's Japan's world champion at 61 kilograms, which is 134 in terms of pounds. He beat PSU commit Marcus Blaze the other day, so already getting to know some of his future teammates. He trains at the Lorenzo Wrestling Complex before, so he's definitely all in on Penn State, and it's a huge pickup for this squad, as well as you have these guys like Josh Barr, like Tyler Kasak, and Braden Davis, Luke Lillidahl, true freshman as well, who are really going to lead this squad forward. I know we wanted to talk a little bit about Braden Davis. He was national champion at 125 last year, moved up to 133. Unfortunately, suffered some injury early on, but with the addition of Ono for next year's squad, it's a little bit to question whether or not Braden Davis, guys like Aaron Nagao as well, and Ono, how that is going to mix and play in. But I mean, let's talk about this season before we get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, I'll ask you just right away. What are your thoughts on this whole season?
It was dominance. It's clear that's what you're going to get with Penn State wrestling. We've seen it time and time again. You said it. 4th straight national title. The guys were the Big Ten champions as well. Your heavy hitters like Carter Starachi, like Greg Kirkfleet, Levi Haynes, you know they were going to go out and dominate, but you had some nice surprises in the underdogs like Josh Barr, Tyler Kasak, Luke Lilladal. And the thing about this Penn State wrestling team is the depth of the roster is crazy. Penn State recruits guys who go out and leave it all on the mat. They were going to leave their blood, sweat, and tears, no matter if they went undefeated, if they lost one, or whether or not they won their 4th straight national championship, and they did. This wrestling dynasty isn't going anywhere, Nico.
Yeah, I couldn't agree anymore. I think this team's going to be very fun for a lot of more years to come.
From one tournament team to another, Penn State men's hockey is looking to qualify for the Frozen Four when it travels to Allentown this weekend to take on Maine in the regional finals. Let's go back to the desk for more on the Nittany Lions.
Thanks, Adriana. I mean, Penn State wrestling, what a story they are. I mean, you talked about dynasty. Well, Cale Sanderson, that's 12 national championships for him. He's getting close to being the winningest coach in terms of national championships in wrestling history. After a dramatic second-half turnaround, Penn State men's hockey, they've qualified for the NCAA tournament after a 1-year break. A rough start to the season, well, they took that away and went incredibly well in 2025, going 13-4-4, beating Michigan in the first round of the Big Ten playoffs before ultimately losing to Ohio State. That second-half revival was enough to get Penn State into the NCAA tournament. Now they face a Maine team the Nittany Lions have never played. I'm joined by Anthony Descher and Cassie Vaselis, who have covered the team all season. Anthony, I'm going to start with you. What do you make of this matchup?
It's a very offense versus defense kind of. That's what the style of game is going to be. Penn State loves to score. Maine does not allow a lot of goals. Top 3 in the country, 3rd actually when it comes to total goals against. These two teams were supposed to play against each other back a couple years ago in the 21-22 season until the series was canceled. So for those who wanted to see that matchup, you're getting it this weekend, and it's going to be a very fun game to watch because these two teams don't really want to give you an inch, especially in the creases. It's going to be a good goalie matchup. And for Penn State to get this team round 1 in the NCAA tournament, going to be a great test because the Hockey East Conference is one of, if not arguably, the best conference in the entirety of college hockey. And I mean, when you get a team with this kind of firepower, with the depth they have, we'll talk about that later. Penn State's going to be on their toes. But if they can get a multiple goal lead early, it's going to be hard for the Black Bears to come back because that's what they really struggle with.
Yeah, you just said it there. This is going to be a tough challenge for the Nittany Lions, but they've been playing well. So if they continue that, that's going to be great for them. And also today at media, Simon Mack said that they still think they're the hottest college team out there. And so that is going to be key. If they start early, they cannot go down because if they have to try to climb back up, that's going to be tough for them. And then obviously the little things that they have to focus on too by playing Penn State hockey. They need to stay out of the box. They need to limit Maine's shorthanded opportunities because they can score on those. They also, both teams are really good on the faceoff dot. So that's something that, that can set each team up in either way.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams, well, they're riddled with difference makers. Just for Penn State, you talk about players like Aiden Fink in net, Arseny Sergeyev, obviously players like that. Obviously, Maine, a number of incredibly good players that are going to be up for awards and up for NHL spots in the coming years. What do you make of the difference makers for both teams?
I mean, we'll start with Penn State. Aiden Fink, of course, is, the hot hand on this team, circled in every little lineup chart that the other team has of Penn State. Reese Laubach's going to be very important as well. A lot of depth on both of these teams, as I said. You're going to have younger guys on this team, Penn State team, who, I've never seen the NCAA tournament action before. But luckily, the Big Ten is such a great conference. The competition has been there for them all season long. And on the other side, before we get to the other side, Carter Shade will be missing the rest of the season. Huge blow for that Penn State blue line. Someone's going to have to step up. The unit's got to play tighter because Carter Shade was playing some great hockey before he went down. So it'll be up for the rest of the squad, next man up mentality to kind of fill in where he, that spot where he left. But going over to Maine, I mean, they got guys like Harrison Scott, who's, their top guy. You also have another player in Taylor McCarr. And if that name sounds familiar, that last name, yeah, that's Cal McCarr's brother. He's having a great season with the Black Bears. And you look at their crease, Alvin Boya, one of the best goaltenders in the entire country, up for the Richter Award. It's going to be hard to crack that armor with the stats he's got going on. And if Penn State can get that lead, as I said, Maine can't really fight back. continue that pressure, and you're going to see a round 2 in Allentown for these Nittany Lions.
Yeah, you just mentioned goaltending. Penn State also has a great goaltender on their side in Arseny Sergeyev. They just got him this year from UConn, who is a team in this region. But he has stopped some of the best goal scorers in the Big Ten. So I think if he's having one of his best games, it's going to be hard for them Black Bears to score. And then also looking at the defense for Penn State, you have Simon Mack. He's a leader on this team. He's the captain. He's going to be crucial in leading these young players like Cade Christensen, who is his defensive pair. So we have all of them. And then if you look at Maine's defense, they're also very, very strong. They're third in the NCAA in scoring. So that's going to be something that Penn State's going to have to watch out for. So those are my X factors for sure.
Yeah, let's take a look at the other side of kind of this regional. I mean, you obviously mentioned it. If Penn State or or Maine wins, it's either UConn or Quinnipiac in the regional finals on Sunday. What do you make of those two teams?
Yeah, this region is super, super strong, right? If Penn State, if they get past Maine, then they're going to have to face either UConn or Quinnipiac. This whole region is very competitive, and I think all of these teams have a chance at making it to the Frozen Four. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see who kind of comes out.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have any plans this weekend, go to Allentown because the hockey you're going to be watching at the PPL Center is going to be can't miss. I mean, as we mentioned before, Penn State, Maine, going to be a fantastic matchup. You look at the other side, UConn, Quinnipiac. This is the first time UConn's ever made it to the NCAA tournament, so they're going to be coming in here with a lot of juice, trying to upset whoever they can, make some noise because it's the first time for everything. And that UConn Husky squad is phenomenal when they get hot. I mean, you also have Quinnipiac. These guys have been there before. They know how bright these leads can be. They've won the national championship not too long ago. And if you want to look at some storylines, I mean, Penn State's got to beat Maine first. But if Penn State ends up playing UConn, Arseny Sergeyev was a Husky not long ago, last season, transferred over this year. That's going to be, telling because, he knows that program. He knows Maine as well because he's played them several times when he was with UConn. So, I mean, this Allentown region is going to be phenomenal. I can't wait to go watch.
Penn State, UConn, that'd be interesting. Always fun when those shooters are going against their ex-goaltender. Puck drop between Penn State and Maine is scheduled for 8:30 on Friday, and the regional finals will take place on Sunday. From the rink to the turf, let's head over to Panzer Stadium where Brian Portney and Connor Patterson covered Penn State's most recent matchup against Ohio State.
Panzer Stadium was filled up last night for a Big Ten Conference matchup between number 2 Penn State and number 9 Ohio State. Coming into this game against the Buckeyes, the Nittany Lions were seeking a win not only for conference purposes, but to also potentially jump Maryland to become the number 1 ranked team in the nation.
I thought our offense played really well tonight. It may not show with just a 9-goal output, but I thought we put a number of really good goals on cage, but 28 shots on goal.
Despite the early offensive success, the Nittany Lions would struggle to maintain momentum as the game went on. The Nittany Lions got off to a hot 4-1 start, but it wouldn't last long as the Buckeyes went on a 9-2 run. Head coach Jeff Tambroni gave credit to Ohio State's impressive defense, while noting some points his team needs to improve on.
They are a good defense, but I thought their goalie really played well tonight, and I think we just got to figure out a way to just keep getting better, keep getting those same looks, and do a better job of just finishing when we have the opportunity.
The Nittany Lions would fall to the Buckeyes by a score of 13-9. Penn State's next test would be on the road against number 2 Maryland.
Thanks, Owen. The Nittany Lions had a big opportunity in a top 10 conference opening matchup against Ohio State. Penn State fought hard, but after suffering a tough defeat, they will try and move on from the loss with another big matchup on the horizon. And who do the Nittany Lions have next, Connor?
So we're looking ahead, and we have number 2 Maryland. I mean, Maryland is coming off a kind of surprising loss to Michigan. I mean, triple overtime. That's a very hard-fought battle, obviously, but there's a lot of things that the Nittany Lions will want to look to clean up after the Ohio State loss last night before they go to face Maryland, which is a tough battle for them. I mean, you're looking at the rankings. You have Princeton number 1 and then Maryland number 2. They had the opportunity last night to jump to number 1. They missed out on that opportunity. I mean, they've been hanging around. They lost to Princeton by 1 earlier in the year. They're hanging around with these teams. It'll be interesting to see what they do with their opportunity this weekend against Maryland.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, though, taking in what happened against Ohio State, but more importantly, though, I think Maryland is, coming off of that 3-0 loss to Michigan. They're going to play pissed. They're going to play focused. And, in this Saturday afternoon matchup, they're going to have, they're definitely going to have the advantage. I mean, Penn State, in my opinion, I believe, Penn State without a 100% trainer on the field is fine instead of having him not completely 100%, on the field, just because the injuries kind of hinder team success.
Yeah, I think it'll be nice if he can get back to full strength for this matchup against Maryland. I mean, you saw last night against Ohio State, they weren't the same offense. And going against that good of a defense, you want your star player healthy. I mean, Trainer has 16 goals on the year. I mean, obviously their leading scorer, and then you have Hunter with the leg sleeve. He was banged up too, so they weren't fully last night, fully healthy. But with that good of a defense last night, it wasn't really surprising to see them struggle on offense. But if they can get fully healthy, it'd be nice to see a good battle this weekend against Maryland for them to kind of jump in those rankings.
Yeah, and speaking about the Ohio State game, I mean, what we saw, Coach Tambroni just had to give credit to not only the goalie, but also the defense. It's just because they were going up, and it seemed like they were just overmatched against this Ohio State defense, who was able to take advantage of Matt Trainer, who all night had to move away from his left shoulder, where he was, dealing with that injury.
Yeah, I mean, that goalie for Ohio State last night was phenomenal. I mean, I think 17 saves. I mean, Penn State's offense was for no reason bad, but they had shots on goal. They just were not falling, and they got off to a hot start, and then they fell kind of into an unanswered hole, which kind of came down to the face-offs, which I like to touch on here. But they didn't have the ball on their side really for long stretches of the game, which led to those unanswered runs. And when you get into a hole against a team like Ohio State with the stout defense that they have, it's going to be hard to fight back against that good of a team, especially when you have Trainer, you have Hunter, they're not fully healthy. Your offense is going to be struggling as it is already. And then getting down against a good defense like that, it was just hard fought comeback. But
yeah, I mean, the Nittany Lions obviously started off hot, but then it was definitely the face-offs that were the tone setter for the rest of the game. Ohio State was just able to get off so many more face-offs, take the ball into Nittany Lion territory, and just get more and more shots on goal. And it took the goalie out of place, Jack Fracion. So I think the defense was just disoriented and kind of almost thrown off course just because of how fast the Ohio State offense was moving inefficiently.
Like you said, when we were sitting last night, I had even mentioned a few times, like it felt like it felt so long where they just did not have the ball on their side with an opportunity to score. They weren't forcing turnovers. They didn't really have any big hits. There was nothing really. They weren't really creating any opportunities on the defense side of the ball. And Ohio State, like I said, led to those unanswered runs when Ohio State just won the faceoff and they would maintain the ball for these long periods of time. Defense would get tired out, and there weren't many opportunities for them to even take a shot on goal. So,
yeah, and lastly, you obviously have to touch on, even though it didn't really impact the outcome of the game, that controversial no call on that potential goal.
Yeah, although, I mean, if it would have affected the outcome of the game, it would have been much more interesting. Although it didn't, because it was a multiple score lead for Ohio State. That ball was in the net, and the challenge system is a little bit messed up right now because when we talked to Coach after the game, he said that we had a better view on the big screen than what the refs are seeing on their iPad, which is kind of messed up because you would think that the refs making the real call should have the better views than the fans that are just sitting out in the stands watching the game. And that was kind of surprising to me because the challenge system is new to college lacrosse. But that was a clear goal, and if you're going to have mistakes like that, then it's very flawed. And not only for Penn State, there were many calls that went our way, many calls that went their way. Thank goodness it didn't affect the outcome of the game, but it would have been interesting if it had.
Yeah, I mean, with the system being new, you just have to focus on the things that you can control and not the things that you can't. And this, in that situation, is just one of the things that the Nittany Lions just couldn't control. So they just had to move on from that.
Yeah, and then looking ahead, so the Penn State will have another chance at a top team on the road at number 2 Maryland next week. Now let's take a look at Masso and Manfro's coverage of Penn State baseball's weekend series against Michigan State at Medler Field.
This past weekend, Penn State baseball held their second Big Ten home series of the season against the Michigan State Spartans. After a Friday night shutout put the Nittany Lions down 0-1 in the series, Penn State came back in Game 2 with some help by Michigan State errors and some big swings. This set up Sunday to decide the series between the Spartans and Nittany Lions. Despite multi-hit performances from Paxton Kling and Nate Voss, it was Penn State control issues that sparked the Spartans' offense.
I mean, the sort of simple answers, we kind of walked too many guys. We walked the bottom of their order a little bit too much. It's not taking anything away from the bottom of their order, but we walked the bottom of their order too much.
Penn State opens the season 5-4 in conference. The Nittany Lions will be back in action Tuesday for Dollar Dog Night against the Pitt Panthers.
Conference play is well underway for Penn State baseball, and the Nittany Lions just wrapped up their latest series against Michigan State, where the Spartans took 2 out of the 3 weekend matchups. I'm now joined with Massimo and Isabel to break down what went down at Medler Field. And we'll just kind of go in order: Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Massimo, we'll start with you for Friday and then toss to Isabel for Saturday's action.
Well, overall, the weekend was a great weekend for baseball.
Mm-hmm.
The weather may not have always been there, but we'll start off with Friday, where, frankly, I only have things to say about Michigan State players because it was a 4-0 shutout for Michigan State on Friday.
Yeah.
And we'll start off with the starting pitcher for Michigan State, Joseph Dwarza. My goodness, he dominated. 5 innings pitched, just 2 hits allowed.
Wow.
And it is a continued dominance for Dwarza this season. He's 5-0, just barely has an ERA over 1.
Mm-hmm.
And it was showing on Friday. And he had the help of one of his position players, one of his batters. Ryan McKay had himself a day and a series. He went 5 for 5 on Friday, as well as 9 for 12 in the series.
Oh, wow.
And was responsible for 7 of Michigan State's runs, scoring 4 of them and driving in 3 more. And that showed specifically Friday, but moving on to Saturday, there are some other things that happened both for Michigan State and Penn State.
Yeah. Well, when you talk about weather, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows on Saturday. It was
Typical
cold.
State College.
Yeah, it was cold and raining. It's okay. But I guess the rain did bring a little luck because Penn State won 11-5. And it all just came down to the hitting, the defense. Penn State definitely nailed it with that one. I will say the pitching was a little bit questionable because Michigan was leading by the 5th inning 5-1, which I thought Penn State was done. I don't know. But
Jesse Jaconski says
Jesse
otherwise.
Jaconski saved them. Well, especially in the 6th inning, because by the time it was the 5th inning, the bottom of the 5th, they tied it because of all the fielding errors Michigan State had. And
just went right. The ball went right under the left fielder's glove. I mean,
wow.
You can't gift runs better than that.
Jesse Jaconski said not today and hit a grand slam in the 6th inning, leading them 9-5. And then ultimately in the end, there was all sacrifice flies, single RBI, 11-5. And I will say Nate Voss did come in as a pinch hitter, and good thing he was a starter on Sunday because they definitely needed him. He definitely brought in a lot of energy, not a lot of hits because he just got there, but he did hit, and that's why he was a starter on Sunday. I will say Mason Horwat did worry fans, I would say, because he did give up 7 runs or 5 hits, 3 walks, But then Anthony Steele did save them.
Anthony Steele was incredible. I mean, he's been incredible for Penn State this entire season. He's another guy, this time out of the bullpen, but he still has an ERA just around 1.
Yeah.
And he's been the one guy for Coach Gambino that you could say, I trust him in a high leverage situation. And that's the way he's been used, and he's excelled.
The last couple of innings, the only thing he did was give up 2 walks.
Yeah.
No hits, no runs.
But
we're going to keep it that way.
But Sunday changes your view on how the pitching was. I mean,
a lot of ups and downs this weekend.
Quite
bipolar, you would say.
Abysmal pitch spotting for our pitcher, for the Nittany Lion pitchers. You can see that they had 10 walks on Sunday alone, 20 in the entire series. And if you are trying to be a competitive team, that just can't happen.
Especially in the Big Ten.
Logan Olson he didn't even make it past the 2nd inning. He was taken out like half the 2nd inning in. And he gave up 3 walks. It was bases loaded at that point. Someone else came in, but the damage was done because the scoring happened. And it was actually a pretty similar game to Saturday's because it was in the 5th inning, 6-1 instead of 5-1, but pretty similar. But unfortunately, Penn State did not catch up
You
And,
can't rely
yeah.
on a grand slam every time you go
Nope.
out there. And
Most
They were
certainly
making
not.
moves in the 8th inning, but it just was not enough.
Yeah, and I mean, as conference play continues, I'm sure Penn State will try to solidify that bullpen and pitching rotation as we go on. And those bats should get a little bit more consistent, as I know Penn State fans will hope. But this week, we have a lot going on. Dollar Dog Night tomorrow, another home game Wednesday, and then the Nittany Lions hit the road for a weekend series in Ann Arbor, Michigan. What do you need to see from the Nittany Lions this week to kind of make some of those ups and downs a little bit more frequent on the upside?
Well, I think that first off, Dollar Dog Night against the Pitt Panthers. I mean, in my opinion, make it a national holiday.
Yeah.
It is a great time. I love going to the ballpark when it's Dollar Dog Night, and the Nittany Lions enjoy playing when it's Dollar Dog Night.
It's certainly a different energy out there.
That atmosphere gives the Nittany Lions the advantage.
Yeah.
And it certainly helps. But against a team like the Pitt Panthers, I expect it will be a close one.
Yeah.
And I truly think that it comes down to whichever pitcher cracks first.
Mm-hmm.
That will really just blow things wide open, and you will have a very good view when the first team goes to the bullpen about how the rest of that game will go.
And Isabella, what's your take?
I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say basically the same thing. Penn State, especially State College, loves a good in-state rivalry. I will say, looking at their seasonal stats, they do have a similar
construct.
Yeah, going into the game tomorrow, they are both coming off of series losses. Pitt loses to NC State 2-1. Penn State loses to Michigan State, the exact same thing, 2-1. And they just have pretty similar batting, pitching, fielding averages. They have good hitters, good defense. The pitching, they struggled a little bit. Same thing with Penn State. So definitely it's going to come down in the end of who's going to come out on top with the pitching.
And what I'm hearing from that is that a night like Dollar Dog Night is the perfect night to play them. That is a game in which the atmosphere can actually change the result. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's exactly what we see Tuesday.
Could we see a Joe or Jesse Jaconsi Grand Slam?
Well, we will
I
have
wouldn't
to
bet on
see.
that, but I will bet on a high number of hot dogs being eaten.
Yeah, last week it was close to 7,500. We'll see if the Penn State fans raise the bar even higher. While some of the seasons have just started, Penn State has been knocking it out of the park with the highlights. Let's take a look at our top plays of the week. At number 3, Levi Haynes uses the cradle to pin Maryland's Branson Johnston.
And at number 2, it's Jesse Jaconski tagging this ball out to left field for a grand slam in Penn State's 11-5 win over Michigan State.
Ringing in at number 1, Carter Starachi embraces Cale Sanderson after winning his 5th national championship.
Taking a look at the upcoming schedules for Penn State sports, men's hockey will face Maine in Allentown at 8:30 on Friday. If they win that first round matchup, they will play in the regional finals on Sunday. Baseball plays at home tomorrow and Wednesday versus Pitt and Bucknell. Tomorrow's game against the Panthers will be the third Dollar Dog Night of the season. Men's swimming and diving is in Seattle Wednesday through Saturday for the national championships. Finally, men's volleyball returns from a 2-week break to face Charleston in a 2-game series on Friday and Saturday. Friday is a whiteout game, and Saturday is senior day. First serve from Rec Hall is set for 7 p.m. Friday and 3 p.m. Saturday.
Be sure to follow Penn State Sports Night's coverage of all of the Nittany Lions in action this week on all of our social media. And thank you for joining us for the Dear Old State update. Have a great rest of your night.